Hi everybody, my name is Jens Larsen. It's important that if you take the time to learn an arpeggio, that you also spend some time trying to figure out what other chords you can use it on. Because in that way you can actually use it in a lot of different places and you add to your vocabulary on several different chords. In this video I'm gonna take a minor major arpeggio, which I think is something very typical for the melodic minor sound. And then I'm gonna go over 5 different places where you can put that to use and show you some examples from standards of where this happens and how I might use it in a line. The first example is using the minor major arpeggio on a minor major chord, so really just the most basic way, but this tonic minor sound is really powerful and it's definitely something you want to work with. I'm using the song Solar as an example here, and it's just the first 3 bars of Solar. I start off with the arpeggio, so just the C minor major arpeggio, really bringing out the major 7 against the minor chord. Then I play a D sus triad in a pattern, and that gives me the 9 of the chord. Again, bringing out the major 7, and then we transition to G minor by walking up to the minor 3rd of G minor. In the second example, I'm using the minor major arpeggio on a half diminished chord. So in this case, it's an E half diminished chord, and I'm using a G minor major arpeggio. The sound that you get here is actually the sound of using melodic minor on top of a half diminished chord, which is often referred to as Locrian natural 2. So what we have here is then a Locrian sound, or a half diminished sound, but with a natural 9. That sounds like this. The example that I'm using here is the first few bars of Stella by Starlight, and that means that it's E half diminished, A7 to C minor. And this doesn't actually call for using melodic minor on the half diminished chord, but if you check out a recorded version by Miles Davis and Herbie Hancock, you'll hear them both really sort of pulling out the F sharp and really emphasizing that sound on that chord. The line that I'm playing is just starting with the minor major arpeggio, and then I'm running down a D major triad, and then I'm going to the A7 flat 9, and here I'm just using a diminished arpeggio with a few leading notes, so, and then resolving to the 9 of the C minor. One of the places where we use melodic minor the most is probably on the Lydian Dominants. So any dominant that doesn't resolve a 5th down or a 4th up, we can make into a Lydian Dominant. Some of the examples where that happens in a major key would be the 5 of 5, a tritone substitution, or maybe the backdoor dominant or the flat 7 dominant. And in the example that I'm going over here, I'm using the standard Take the A Train, which is 2 bars of tonic, so it's in C major, and then 2 bars of 5 of 5, where I'm using the Lydian Dominant, so that's this sound, so dominant sharp 11, that goes to the 2 chord, and then back to the 1. The line on the C major 7 is first just some simple melodies, just emphasizing a C6 sound, so, and then a small scale run, and then I'm chromatically approaching the A to use the A minor major arpeggio, so on the D7. From here I go up the arpeggio from the 3rd of D7, so F sharp half diminished, and then a small melody just around the scale, so, and then using the G sharp as a leading note to resolve to the 5th of the D minor. The other dominant that we use really a lot from the melodic minor sound is the altered dominant. So in this example I'm just playing a 2-5-1 in the key of C, and I'm using a G altered scale, so that's A flat melodic minor, and I'm using the A flat minor major arpeggio. So the line starts off on the D minor, and that's just a simple D minor pentatonic, followed by an A minor run. And then on the G7 I start off with the minor major arpeggio, and I chain that together with an F half diminished arpeggio in a pattern, and then I resolve that to the 9th of C. this example is the only example that's not coming out of melodic minor. So the progression I'm using here is the first few bars of a C minor blues, and the sound that I'm applying here is the fourth mode of harmonic minor. So the scale that's being used is for the biggest part just G harmonic minor. And the sound you get if you use the fourth mode of harmonic minor is like a Dorian sharp 4 type sound. So that would sound something like this. So if we look at the extensions we have available, I have a C minor 7 with a 9, a 13 and a sharp 11. And I'm using the G minor major arpeggio to really emphasize that sharp 11, which is sort of the interesting sound for this. The example starts by just really stating the C minor sound. And the way I'm doing that is that I'm using some lines based on the arpeggio from the third, so the E flat major 7 arpeggio. So that's this part. And then in bar 3, I really want to bring out sort of the Dorian sharp 4 type sound. And the way I'm doing that is that I'm going into using the 13 here, and then using the G minor major arpeggio. And then really also emphasizing sort of the D major triad. And then I transition to the C7 to go to F minor, and that's just a C7 from F harmonic minor, and then resolving to the fifth of F minor. For anything that we practice and try to get into our playing, it is more efficient, and it's also very useful to really figure out how many places can you use it, are there chords that you can also use it that you're not thinking about already, because in that way you have just more options and you can easily add something to your vocabulary and you'll get a lot more out of the technique that you practice. If you want to check out more stuff on jazz guitar, if you want to learn things about arpeggios, improvising over chord progressions, chord voicings and that kind of thing, then subscribe to my channel. I publish a new lesson every Thursday, and I've been doing this for quite some time, so there's already a lot of stuff available. If you want to get notified whenever I upload a new video, then press the little bell icon next to the subscribe button and you'll get an email or a push notification whenever I publish a new video. That's about it for this week. Thank you for watching, and until next week.